There's multiple Arabic Quran. So like for example,
I don't believe that.
so this is the Quran that you use. This is the Hafs Quran.
There's one in Arabic, so the one that's in Arabic is the one that all Muslims.
So these are both in Arabic. These are both in Arabic, right? And so when we put these two together, when we study these, we can find a lot of variants, a lot of differences in them.
So which Quran do you read, Muslim? Which Quran? Is it the Hafs or the Warsh? There's no differences in the Quran. Not even a letter. Not even a letter. Potatoes, potatoes. Tomato, tomatoes. Now, when I say that, you're still understanding that I'm saying tomatoes and potatoes, right? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. And in Sudan or in Egypt, some people say قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Nas, mankind, it's the same thing, right? That's what it is in a nutshell.
Which qira'ah of the Quran do you read?
There's only one qira'ah.
Hafs and Asim, okay, no problem. Which is usually like the majority of the qira'ah. And some other places like Warsh and Nafi'. Wait, hold on. So for example, when you read Surah Al-Fatiha, how do you read Malik Yawmiddin? Do you read it like that? Malik Yawmiddin? Do you say Malik Yawmiddin or Malik Yawmiddin?
Well, wherever the Quran says.
Okay, the Quran says Malik Yawmiddin and Malik Yawmiddin. Which one do you accept?
Well, wherever the truth is, brother. Right?
But Fatiha, everyone knows.
I get mine. Not everyone knows Fatiha, but they don't understand what the Fatiha means.
Okay, what's the difference between Malik and Malik?
I don't know, you tell me.
Alright, so Malik.
I know this, yeah. Malik,
fine.
Malik.
Malik means owner, Malik means king, yeah?
Yeah, he's both.
So, okay, fine. So you accept both qira'ahs?
No, but I'm saying that the meaning, right, that comes in both.
No, do you accept,
the meaning is
do you accept
same.
one qira'ah or two qira'ahs?
No, I accept only one qira'ah.
Okay, so which one is wrong? This is the reason why I was asking you this. Let me just reveal it to you right now, yeah? The reason why I was asking you this is because the Quran has different, for example, you have Malik and Malik readings. You have different readings. These readings actually affect these different variations affect the meaning, yeah? Now, as Sunnah, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we explain that through the hadith of the Ahruf. Now, this is very important, okay? We say, أنزل القرآن على سبعة أحرف. It's a hadith, right? أنزل القرآن على سبعة أحرف. That the Quran was revealed in 7 different dialects, okay?
Allah doesn't say that, yeah?
It's a hadith. It's a hadith.
Yeah. The Quran
doesn't say that in Quran. Yeah. Now you have in front of you different readings of the Quran. You have Hafs and Asim, Warsh and Nafi' and others that are proliferated around the Ummah. How do you explain the differences in those qira'at if the Quran is meant to be preserved?
Is it owner or king? Malik. Is it owner or king? Can it be both? As they like to say, multiple qira'at. Are there multiple qira'at? Are there multiple ways to read? Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you're all doing well. So today we will be looking at the next piece on Al-Fatiha, which is verse 4. But we'll only be having a look at one word, and that is Malik. So this word has created a lot of controversy amongst people, whether it's Malik or Malik. So in trying to provide a solution to that, before we begin, we should seek refuge before reading Al-Quran, before reading Al-Fatiha, before reading any surah, as we have in verse 1698, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So seek refuge with Allah or by Allah from the demon, the outcast. Ash-Shaytan ar-Rajim. So literally that is the demon, the outcast, Ash-Shaytan ar-Rajim. But when you're translating, really, that just basically means the outcast demon. This is the way the Quranic Arabic language is. The demon, the outcast. But it's ultimately describing one entity, which is Iblis. Ash-Shaytan ar-Rajim, the outcast demon, or the demon outcast. So yeah, just a quick review from what was previously done. So you'll have to have a look at the previous video when Al-Fatiha was first spoken of. I'm just going to quickly go through the first few verses, not anything in detail. So verse 1, we previously did go through Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, by the title of Allah, the most merciful designer of this matrix, the ever merciful developer of this matrix. So for newcomers, you might think, what's this about matrix? You'll have to have a look at the previous video. And then we move on to verse 2. So previously, I was questioning, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Is this the Lord of the worlds? That was the question in the previous video. So everyone did help, and we do have our answer. And I do believe it is Lord of the realms, not even Lord of the worlds. Lord of the realms seems to fit. So you might ask, the realms, why not the worlds? Al-Alameen. So you'll ask, Al-Alameen, why not the worlds, and why the realms? So if you look at Al-Alameen, you can see Ain, Lam, and Mim. Isn't that very interesting? Realm. You can connect those two. And even if you look over here, Alam ad-Dunya. So that's the realm of the dunya, the realm of this world. So that's what that is. So it does seem like it should be Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The praise is for Allah, Lord of the realms, Alameen. But that's not what today's recording is about. So then we go on to verse 3, which is in part a repetition of the first verse. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. So again, the most merciful designer, the ever merciful developer. But now for today's video, which is in beginning with verse 4. Not even covering verse 4, but just beginning to look at verse 4. And mostly looking at Malik. So this word Malik, which has created some controversy or some doubt. So Maliki Yawmiddin, owner of the day of debt repayment. So some people might be familiar with the day of recompense, which is pretty close. But Ad-Deen, I'll go through in a following video, but Ad-Deen is the debt. And it's all about paying up on that day. That's what that is, the day of paying up essentially for whatever it is that we've done with what we've been given. So now I took a picture from Farid Responds, one of his videos, which he apparently covered. I didn't even need to go through any videos. I just saw the thumbnail. And I thought, that tells me everything I need to know. They say that there's multiple Arabic Qurans. They say there's variant readings. And therefore, they say the Malik and Malik are both valid, owner and king. But there is a problem with this, that it does create controversy. It does create doubt in people's heart whether there is such a thing as a pure, protected, untouched Quran. When you accept this, that it could be Malik or it could be Malik, it opens up a whole door, another can of worms, with all different meanings throughout the Quran. But for me, it's enough to see that if you look at those statistics, 92% Hafs, 1% Qalun, 1% Hisham, 4% Warsh, 2% Ad-Duri. And I'm sure there's many more with very tiny percentage. But that main one that stands out is the 92% Hafs. So immediately the thought comes to me that the rest of these look like they are infiltration attempts to dilute the Quran, to distort the Quran, to change certain meanings in different areas of the Quran. Because if 92% is what, if 92% of the people who follow the Quran follow Hafs, that really does tell you everything you need to know. And it does look very similar to these statistics about hadith. When you look at the Quran, that's one hadith, Ahsan al-Hadith, 100% accepted. 100% accepted. But when you look at these others, Bukhari, Muslim, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nisai, You just have to look at the percentage of what they brought that was accepted, 1 or 2%. And it does sound very similar to this whole narrative of variant readings, 7 or 12 or 13, whatever it is. People will tell people they can't make up their minds. But it looks pretty clear to me what is going on. It's a very similar situation to this Quran, which is 100% accepted, and the rest of these are very tiny percent accepted. And it's the same thing with this Hafs, 92% accepted, and all of these other variant readings, a very tiny fraction is accepted, or a very tiny fraction of the people are following it. I did my own research earlier this year in answering this question, but today I'm going to try to present the answer. So, is it owner or king? Malik or Malik? Can it be both? Are there multiple ways to read? Are there multiple qira'at? Can it be both owner and king? Because that's what a lot of people accept. The traditionalists accept that it can be both Malik or Malik. Can it be both? Again, for us, those who truly believe in this Quran, we believe that it came in one way and it was written down in one way. And this is what makes the Quran special. So this whole issue of it being both sounds very questionable. So can it be both honor and king? My short answer, which I'll give first, is no, essentially, not in my opinion. Because from what I've seen in the Quran, Allah is consistent and we do get our answers in the Quran. So if you wanted to just look at one extract to see why it should be owner, Malik, and not Malik, king, you just have to look at Surah number 3, verses 24, 25, and 26. Within these 3 verses, in short, this is my short answer. This is why you will need your own Quran to have a look for yourself. You won't exactly believe this and agree with this and understand this unless you're looking at your own Quran. You will need to have a look at your own Quran. I'm presenting what it is that people need to see or cannot see for themselves, but you will need your own Quran to verify this and decide whether you agree or whether you believe this or not. You've got Malik, king, and you've got Malik, owner. This is my short answer. It can only be Malik, which is in the Hafs Quran, Malik, owner, because the usage of owner suggests the owner is specifically chosen when speaking of the day, al-yawm. So Malik Yawm ad-Deen, yeah, that's what it is. Owner of the day of Deen. So it's very important to look at this about the Deen, about the day of the Deen. So the usage of owner suggests the owner is specifically chosen when speaking of al-Yawm, the day, not king, not Malik. It should be Malik, just based on these 3 verses alone. This is how you see consistency within the Quran. The way Allah uses words, the way Allah chooses words. Not one of the occurrences of Malik, king, or al-Malik, the king, is present when speaking of the day, al-Yawm. Again, you will need your own Quran to verify this. So again, I repeat this. Not one of the occurrences of Malik, king, or al-Malik, the king, is present when speaking of al-Yawm, the day. You will only find Malik being used as owner of the dominion of a day, Yawm, of an-nar, the fire, not king. So that was my short answer. But now for a more of an expanded answer, so you might be able to understand what it is that I'm saying. So if we begin with verse 24 in Surah number 3, this verse speaks of the deviant portion of Bani Israel that claims, لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارُ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. The fire will only touch us for a number of days. So keep in mind the fire. This is what they say. The fire will only touch us for a number of days. And then in the next verse, immediately we have, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جَمَعْنَاهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ وَوُفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Gathered for a day, no suspicion about it. We know which day this is. So again, this is coming from straight away after this claim they mention falsely about that the fire will only touch them for a number of days. And then immediately, the next verse we have, gathered for a day, no doubt or no suspicion about it. جمعناهم ليوم لا ريب فيه. This is a day of gathering. Again, there is Yawmul Jum'ah, a day of gathering. Gathered for a day, no doubt about it. We know which day this is, the day of judgment. We have the fire being mentioned. It's on the day of judgment, where judgment is taking place, and where people will be selected either to go in the fire or the garden. So we know what day this is. So that's 2 verses out of 3. And then in the 3rd verse of this extract, we have Malikul Mulk. So again, this is all about Maliki Yawmiddin. So Malikul Mulk. We have owner, Malik of the dominion. Malikul Mulk. Malikul Mulk. Tu'til mulka man tasha'u wa tanzi'ul mulka mimman tasha'. Again, I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just highlighting about how the words are chosen and how they're spoken of within certain extracts or certain verses within the Quran. It's understanding how Malik is seems to be consistently used with al-yawm. One more time, we've got the fire. We know when this is, when people, when the decision is going to be made, who's going into the fire. It's on that day where there is no doubt. So that's the 2nd verse. And in the 3rd verse, we have Malik al-Mulk. Because this is Allah's dominion. Allah is the owner of the dominion of the day. That's ultimately what we have within these 3 verses. The owner of a day in which many will be placed in the fire. A day of justice, no dhulm. وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Even though we don't have here the day of justice, but we know what day this is. وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. No oppression, no injustice. So that's what this day is. The owner of a day in which many will be placed in fire. A day of justice, no dhulm. So that's good news, no oppression. There should be no fear, because ultimately we're going to be treated with justice. No dhulm. The day of judgment. Again, this is going back to Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yawmiddin. What is Yawmiddin? The day of debt repayment. The day of judgment. They're one and the same. This day is one and the same. The use of owner here suggests the owner is specifically chosen when speaking of the day, not king. The use of owner, Malik, not Malik, not king. The use of owner here suggests the owner is specifically chosen when speaking of al-yawm, Maliki Yawmiddin, not king, not Maliki Yawmiddin. So back to what this is all about. Maliki Yawmiddin, Malik, not Malik. Owner, not king. Owner of the day of debt repayment. So something on dominion of a day. So when we go to this verse here, Surah number 6, verse 73, وَيَوْمَ يَقُولُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. So that day as well, just like how our existence was created from the same thing, how Allah creates everything by just saying kun fayakun. It's a command, kun fayakun, and it comes into being, comes into existence. So this one here we have وَيَوْمَ يَقُولُ كُن فَيَكُونَ, and the day, and a day. So it says and a day, but we know it's the day. And a day when will be said kun fayakun. This is how the day of judgment will also come into existence. قَوْلُهُ الْحَقُّ وَلَهُ الْمُلْكُ يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي السُّورِ. A day of the command be. So this is like sound. The dominion is his. A day when the sur will be blown. So I've put here sonoluminescence because there is a very strong theory that everything comes from sound. Everything comes into existence from sound. So that's what we seem to have here. The sound bringing something into existence. So Maliki Yawmiddin. Owner. So just again, those 3 verses in Surah number 3, 24, verse 24, 25, 26. What we have summed up there is owner, Malik, of al-mulk, of Yawm, of an-nar. That's what we have within those 3 verses. Maliki Yawmiddin. And in the verse that I just mentioned, al-mulk, the dominion of a day, the sur is blown. The dominion of a day, the sur is blown. Maliki Yawmiddin. owner of the day of debt repayment. So just something on dominion of the day. So now we go to another extract. لينذر يوم الطلاق. لينذر يوم الطلاق. So literally this translates to, word for word, this translates to warn a day, the meeting, not the day. It says to warn a day, the meeting. A day, yom, the meeting, at-talaq. Just like yom ad-din. Yom, a day, ad-din, the debt. But when we're translating into modern day English, we wouldn't put it like that. We wouldn't say to warn a day, the meeting. We would say to warn of the day of meeting. Even though it's actually the meeting, but we would, in our language, we would say to warn of the day of meeting. Same thing with Yawm ad-Din. We wouldn't say a day, the Deen. We would say the day of Deen or the day of debt. So straight after Yawm al-Talaq, straight after Yawm al-Talaq, to warn a day, the meeting, or to warn of the day of meeting. Straight after Yawm al-Talaq in Surah number 40, verse 15. In the next verse, verse 16, we have Yawm, Yawmahum barizun, a day they come forth. So we haven't got al here. We haven't got the day or the day they are resurrected. But we can clearly see what day this is being spoken of. A day they come forth, become prominent. That's what that is, barizun. It's something becoming prominent. It's coming out. It is another word describing the resurrection. A day they come forth. And then we have al-yawm, the dominion, al-mulk, this day. The dominion, al-mulk, this day. Limanil mulku al-yawm. For whom the dominion this day. For whom the dominion this day. And then in the next verse after that, verse 17. Al-yawma tujza kullu nafsin bima kasabat. La dhulm, there it is again. La dhulm al-yawm. No dhulm, no oppression this day. Al-yawm, this day, no oppression, not the day. That's not how we would translate it. La dhulm al-yawm, no oppression this day. No injustice this day. We have to go according to how the language of the Quran is. It's not about trying to fit it the way we understand it. It's about understanding the way the language of the Quran is. Sometimes there's al, sometimes there's not al. Al-hadith, hadith. This day will be rewarded every self for what it earned. No injustice this day. Also known as the day of account. So again, we know Yawm al-Hisab, but look what we have mentioned here. Inna Allah suri'ul hisab. We don't have Yawm al-Hisab, but we know that this is the day of account. These are different descriptions of the same day. And then in verse 18 we have وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْآزِفَةِ. Literally again, and warn them a day. We don't have al-yawm, we have warn them a day, the imminent approach. Al-azifa. Similar to Yawm ad-Din. A day, the debt. But again, when translating to the way we understand English, it would be, and warn them of the day of imminent approach. Yawm ad-Din, the day of debt. So can it be both owner and king? Malik, Malik. That's the difference there. Malik and Malik. Malik being owner and Malik being king. Can it be both? So owner, so what I've just shown so far, these three extracts, these three pieces of evidence that convinces me that there's only one. But really and truly, it's that top piece there. Those three verses at the top there. Because that's where Malik is clearly used. Owner, Malik of al-mulk, the dominion of a day. Yom, of when they claim that the fire will only touch them for a number of days. An-nar. And then we have in verse 73 of Surah number 6, Al-Mulk, the dominion of a day when the sur is blown. This is all speaking of the same day. This is the point I'm making. The dominion that belongs to Allah, that is this day. The dominion, Al-Mulk, this day. Al-Yawm, this day. This day is the day of meeting. The day they come forth. The day of imminent approach. So Malik is used also in the Quran for an owner of Jahannam. So there is, if you go to this verse here, Surah number 43, verse 77, we have Malik, an owner of Jahannam, an owner that Allah has designated for Jahannam, hellfire. وَنَادَوْا يَا مَالِكُ لِيَقْضِ عَلَيْنَا رَبُّكَ قَالَ إِنَّكُمْ مَاكِثُونَ. And they will call, O Malik, let your Lord put an end to us. So it's clear that this person has a superior. O Malik, let your Lord put an end to us. And he will say, this Malik, the owner of Jahannam. You just have to go to 3 verses before this and see that this is about Jahannam. O Malik, let your Lord put an end to us. He will say, indeed, you are all remaining. You're not going anywhere. You're staying here. So who is this owner? Well, my suspicion is it's Iblis, who's been given that designation to be the owner of Jahannam. Allah knows best. But the point is Malik, how Malik is used. Owner. So Allah is the owner of Yawmuddin. And Allah has designated an owner of Jahannam here, Malik. So again, can it be both? That's what this whole recording is about. Can it be both? Owner and king. Malik and Malik. Again, the usage of owner suggests the owner is specifically chosen when speaking of the day, not king. Furthermore, if you look at the usage of the king in the Quran, Allahul Malikul Haq, Allahul Malikul Haq. Allah is the king, Al-Malik, of the truth, Al-Haq, as we have here. Al-Malikul Haq, Al-Malikul Quddus, the sacred. Malikin Nas. That's how king is used. So king is used in reference to Allah, and so is owner. But it's how Allah uses which one when. And it seems to be the case. The owner is used when speaking of the day, whereas king is used in these occurrences, which is not speaking about the day. So yes, there is Malik as well at the very end of the Quran. Very interesting. We have one, which is Malik at the very beginning of the Quran, and we have Malik, which is used at the very end of the Quran. But each one is chosen specifically. It's not a case of you can use both. Not one of the occurrences of Malik, king, or Al-Malik, the king, is present when speaking of Al-Yawm, the day. Because this is all about Malik Yawmuddin, verse 4 in Surah Al-Fatiha. So you will only find owner Malik of the dominion of a day, Yawm, of An-Nar, not king. Malik Yawmuddin. Are there multiple ways to read? Are there multiple qira'at? It doesn't seem like it. There appears to be no variant readings of verse 1-4. There is only owner Malik of Yawm, of the debt repayment, which is ad-Deen, Malik Yawmuddin. And this is the power of this Quranic Arabic. Just one word, you could spend forever in just discussing one word in the Quran and how it's used. Malik Yawmuddin, owner of the day of debt repayment. Some more questions for next time, but not for today. So then you might ask, what is a Deen? What is the Deen? Well, just for today, I'll just leave this one verse here from Surah number 6, verse 161. This pretty much sums up what anyone needs to know what the Deen is. Following the correct Deen is being on Sirat al-Mustaqim, is being on the upright path, following the correct Deen. A valuable Deen. So there is the Deen of the Kafir. As it says towards the end of the Quran, Lakum Deenukum Waliya Deen. There is the Deen of the Kafir as well. But we're shown what is the valuable Deen or the valuable debt, and that is being on Sirat al-Mustaqim, as Ibrahim a.s. was. He was on the millet, or you could even say the militant creed. If you go back in the etymology of the word militant and military, you will find millet. So is that what it is? Is that what millet is? Something militant, something military-like? Whatever the case, it's whatever Ibrahim a.s. was following. And he was Hanifan. He was monotheist. He was not a mushrik. So just for today, because this is not what today's about, but if anyone wanted what is the correct Deen, this one verse is pretty much what everyone needs to know. And another question that will be raised, what is Yawmuddin? What is Day of the Deen? Or what is the Day of Deen? Well, we have وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. And what will make you realize what is the day of debt, repayment? So that is what? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. And another question that will be raised is, when is the day of Deen? Now, this is for me a more important question because of the book that I've written over the last couple of years. They ask you about the hour. When is she anchoring? Ayyana. They ask you about the hour. When is she anchoring? يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها. And then we have أيان يوم الدين. And then we have أيان يوم القيامة. Very interesting. Have you seen how Allah says, let them bring a hadith like it? Let them bring a surah like it? Is Allah speaking of a different book, or is He speaking of the same book? Let them bring a hadith like it. Let them bring a surah like it. They ask you about the hour. When is she anchoring? Ayyana Yawmuddin. Ayyana Yawmul Qiyamah. But again, more on this next time. So as I said, this is all detailed in the book. Yas'alunaka anis sa'ati ayyana mursaha. And this ard that is sutihat. So when the hour anchors on the level earth. So more in this book, currently being edited to be published either at the end of this year or more likely at the beginning of next year, inshallah. But if you wanted more information on that now, then there is already a video on the channel, The Sudden Hour, Like a Twinkle of the Eye, where I go through everything that was uncovered or researched last year. The video was released on what they call Christmas Eve, as you can see there. So this was done at the very end of last year. So if you want more information on this, it's probably better to go towards the end of that video, as I've got highlighted here. Bringing forth the question how Allah speaks one by two, looking at the language, the nature of this Quran, how Allah does seem to speak one by two different words. As I just gave you one example, bring a hadith like it, bring a surah like it. Is Allah speaking of a different book, or is He speaking of the same book? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. There's many examples you can say that this is ultimately describing the same thing. But the main purpose of this video, the main purpose of this research was to highlight how the hadith, the body of hadith that is not the Quran, has heavily influenced the Ahsan al-Hadith that is the Quran, and how people are believing in end times eschatology, end times prophecies, which do not exist in the Quran and actually contradict the Quran. So that was the main aim, that was the main purpose of this, to highlight that. And that's what was carried out with this research and this video. But for the purpose of today's video, looking at verse 4 in Al-Fatiha, just a quick reminder. Malik Yawmuddin, owner of the day of debt repayment. Is there multiple Arabic Qurans? That's the question. Is there multiple Arabic Qurans? They look more like infiltration attempts. Not one of the occurrences of Malik or Al-Malik, the king, is present when speaking of Al-Yawm, the day. You will only find owner, Malik, of the dominion of a day of the fire, not king.